WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us today. We Should Know is on air. It's Tuesday at 2:30. Simulcast on Star Communications Channel 16, WCLN Radio. There's a summation reprint in the Samson Weekly newspaper. I want to thank you and all of those folks that continue to email us each and every week. weshouldknowedu@gmail.com with suggestions and comments on previous shows. Of course, as you know, our snail mail address is still there for you folks that like to drop a note occasionally, and I still get those at Post Office Box 1482, Clinton, North Carolina 28329. Our guest today, and we're so excited to have you guys back, is Jonathan Fussell and David Fussell, and it's all about Duplin Winery. Jonathan to my right, David is we might switch chairs, I don't know, whatever. I might put one of y'all over here and I get over there.
There you go.
But I want to kind of give folks a little bit. Jonathan, you graduated from Rose Hill High School. You attended some school I think it's called the University of North Carolina. Is that Tar Heel place? I believe.
That's the Tar Heel.
Yeah, that's one of those classy kinds of schools, I believe.
Well,
So
you can tell by his shirt.
Yeah, I'm just fixing to say.
We come on with our pinkies
That's
out over
exactly
there
right.
and chop
And that was in 1998. That don't sound like that long ago to me, but it's been a while.
I had hair back then.
You did? Yeah. Well, see what happens. I mean, so look, when I look at that, I think about history and how quick it goes. You actually, like your brother, worked part-time at the winery and then became full-time. You were hired in 1996. You are kind of in charge of the retail division for operations for Duplin Winery. Obviously, the property's expanded. We're going to talk a lot about that in a few minutes. I want folks to stay tuned. You decided, with some very good sense, to marry a young lady by the name of McDonald.
Correct.
Made her
Leah.
a Fussell. In 2000.
Worst mistake she ever made.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, but something happened right here because you've got one son, you've got one daughter, and I think there's something going on there. You know, I think y'all are working it out.
Well, you know, her mother and her father said that she got drunk twice.
And you have to be in the position.
That's right.
I hear
That's
that.
right.
So that's the reason you like to take those boat trips occasionally out to sea and just do a little thinking.
That's right.
I'm with you. So listen, and Dave, you're the president of Duplin Winery. One of the things I thought was interesting, not only you graduated obviously from the same high school, you guys slept in the same.
It was Wallace Rose Hill High School.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Wallace Rose Hill at the time. So when we look at Wallace Rose Hill, but you went to East Carolina University.
Yes,
now, your
I did.
background was kind of more in the business, where his was history. Is that? Am I getting that
did
correct?
measure, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've been back to East Carolina, ECU, on occasion and taught in some of their business classes over there. Am I correct?
I have.
There you go.
And the Northerners didn't understand what I was saying, but
Well, the thing is,
you know, I had a Southern translator, so we
it's
did
those
pretty
long
good.
vowel sounds.
That's
That's
right.
what messes them up. They just can't deal with it. So you married Angie Meyer in 1994. Now, something happened there. You were blessed with a son by the name of Grayson.
How do you know all this stuff?
I don't know. I mean,
Good gracious.
people write
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that email address stays full. I mean, folks say, let me tell you something on them boys. There's a lot of stuff I'm not reading. I'm not.
Just don't let our wives
That's
comment
right.
on
Exactly. Both of you are kind of into sports and coaching, obviously. So let's start out and talk about, it's been a wild ride when you think back to those days. You went through college, you got the degrees, you stepped out, working part-time. It's always been kind of a family affair, though. I mean, from not only Grandpa, but let's look at Dave Sr., you know, and when you look at that and think about where you are now, and we talked about this the last time we were here, and we're some debate on when it was, whether it's 2014 or 2015 when you were last time here. You've been invited many times, put it like that. But during that juncture, from a hog truck trailer, hauling wine in jars, to this place at Myrtle Beach. Something about that Carolina journey helped somewhere in there, didn't it? Or what?
You know what?
I'm gonna talk.
You know what tickled me though? You said hiring in '98. I was thinking fired in '99.
Same thing goes around and round.
I think twice, my man.
He was just lucky he was out of town.
JW, actually, worst time I ever got fired in my entire life. So, Christmas Eve, 1999. go there. You know, we always go to our parents' house first before you go over to my grandparents, and at the time it was my aunt's house. But I get there, and my dad gave me a pink slip for my Christmas present. I got fired on Christmas Eve.
By your dad?
By my dad. And I looked at my mom, and she said, there's nothing I can do about it. But the reason I got fired is he had put me in charge of the retail room. And our busy season back then ended on December 16th, where they were out of town, and I decided I wanted to take a vacation, so I went to Atlantic City gambling. And my fiance at the time, Leah, told me, she said, you don't need to do this. I said, well, I'm going because I need a break. And so when I got back, he fired me. I said, why did I get fired? He said, because I put you in charge and you disappointed me. I said, we had a great year. He said, don't matter. You went to Atlantic City. You could have waited to January to go there. So anyway, I got fired.
He got not only fired but punished at the same time.
That's
Well,
right.
I think we have a little race. I think I've been hired 8 times by the winery. He's probably been hired 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But the journey in such, when I look back at the history, and we've talked a little bit about this on this show, is that not only did you see these things happening within your family, with David Sr., with what he and his brother went through when the bottom dropped out of the grape market, just selling grapes from the vineyard, to actually making a huge comeback, because David Sr. basically quit and got a job teaching so he could make the ends meet.
Yeah.
But there's
Lost his house.
Yeah, talk to me about that resilience, though, that fortitude it takes to, no matter what, we're going to come back, we're going to make this thing work. Where did that twist? I know you made a comment in something I read in '96 about that things started turning around in '96, tremendously making a surge forward. Yes, where did you start seeing, David, that kind of turn happen?
Well, I can tell you, though, people from this part of the country, a lot of them, probably maybe the generation before us, and definitely the generation before that, sometimes they could just get so rooted into something that they just refuse to give up. And I think that was part of my dad's deal, and my grandfather and mom. They just did not give up. They were just so rooted into this thing, and at the cost of actually losing the family home, and all the associates that were let go in the mid '80s, and depression. My dad was sick with depression for a couple of years back then at that time, and it just really was a great struggle up until 1995, actually. They said on 60 Minutes, drink a glass of red wine, it's good for you. And us Southerners, we like drinking our sweet tea, and so they'd go out and buy a bottle of Merlot and come back and say, oh, this is too dry, this is too dry. And then they started discovering our wines like our Hatteras Red and Carolina Red, which are really on the sweet side, and they could enjoy that and drink it. And then in 1996, 23 different universities started studying all the wines across the world for a phenolic compound called resveratrol.
Right.
And Campbell University came down and started getting wines. And
Baptist even.
Yeah, I was like, man, they're having a party in Bush Creek. But they actually started looking at all of our wines, and they came back and said it's amazing. Not only in your red wines, but also in your white wines, there's 7 times more resveratrol in these wines. So, we started doing somersaults and flips and everything else, and that news got put on.
That's some kind of seal of approval. Then.
Oh yeah, man, and that put us on the front page of the N&O. And at the time, we were probably selling about 8,000 cases of wine a year at that time, and things just quickly changed.
It's unbelievable, and when I think about that, Jonathan, I think about what you were talking about your dad. There was a number of times I understand David Sr. would come back and say, boys, you got this wrong, you need to, because he had already stepped out of the business, but he still come back and tell you what you need to do.
Shoot,
did I get that information right?
Every day.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
He constantly calls us up and tells us.
He does still do that.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Nothing's ever right.
You got too many people to work for you. You're not.
billboards.
That's right. You're not working hard enough. It's
that measure up kind of
That's
thing.
right. It's always. But getting back to the rooted thing, I'll tell you something. In 1994, we started doing dinner shows.
Yes.
And you know, that sort of put a little change for us. We'll try and, you know, think of a reason, what can we do to get people to come visit us? And so he said, let's come up with doing dinner shows, which was a very foreign concept for Rose Hill, North Carolina, especially in 1994. So I'll never forget my grandfather coming in and telling my dad, he said, this is the worst mistake you've ever made. That's right. So it follows down. But anyway, I looked at my dad, I said, Dad, I said, we're making a mistake. Big D said we're making a big mistake. He said, I don't care. We're going to do every single show this year if it costs me everything I have. I said, why would we do that? He said, because I told them that we were going to do it and we're going to be successful, and therefore we're going to do it, no matter if we lose on it or not. But that turned out to be one of the better things that we've done, because ever since then we've been very, very fortunate to sell out almost every single show that we have done. The only times that we didn't was in the recession in 2008 and 2009. All the other 20 plus years that we've been doing it, it's just been tremendous success for us.
And I think the story, again, I want to bring folks to that process, and I know you've talked about it, Dave, the whole process when you started out, and you were literally, and folks think you're kidding, but it's a true concept. You were actually hauling wine in mason jars up to Raleigh in what normally would transport hogs. And people look at me and go, that can't be true. I said, I know, I'm believing this man.
My dad bought a dump truck to haul off our spent grape skins and seeds many years ago. Now, of course, we keep them and sell them to the world's largest nutraceutical company. But we had an order up to Asheville, and the pickup was not big enough to haul the order. So we loaded up the dump truck. Dad put sleeping bags in it, and we drove up to Asheville, and then we spent the night in the back of the dump truck in sleeping bags with all the bears out there because we couldn't afford a hotel room. So this was sort of a lick stick operation.
We're going to take a break with that thought, sleeping in the back with the bears. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in just a moment. We're talking with David and Jonathan Fussell. We're talking about Duplin Winery, one of the largest wineries in the South, the largest on the East Coast. We'll be back in one moment. Stay tuned.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
You forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on air. Thank you for tuning in today. If you happen to be going down the road, listen to us on the radio. We appreciate that very much. If you're watching us on Star Communications Channel 16, you're probably pulling both because we're simulcast at 2:30 each and every Tuesday on both of those frequencies, visual and audible. Reprint, Sampson Weekly newspaper. There's a replay at 7 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on Star Communications Channel 16. We're talking with none other than Jonathan Fussell, president of Duplin Wine Family, Dave Fussell, president of the Duplin Winery. I don't know about what all those titles means, guys. I'm just trying to figure out. I mean, I got one that even calls you the president, CEO, Dave. So I don't know. That sounded good. I thought that had a long. You got a business card about two foot big.
I got interviewed by this writer from Old State Magazine, Old North State Magazine, excuse me. And she goes, "What is your title?" I said, I don't know, whatever you want to put down. She said, well, what do you do? I said, well, right now I'm just picking up trash and cleaning the toilets, and that's pretty much it.
You've got one of those titles that under says, do what?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, do what title? So look, I want to kind of follow up, and we were talking a little bit about that, the beginning days and so forth. I want to fast forward, so don't get anybody in a neck brace here, but fast forward, and all of a sudden now you find yourself in Myrtle Beach, which was a dream of both of you guys. And I don't know whether you dreamed that together or you were dreaming simultaneously or what.
He dreamed it, I just followed
Yeah, exactly. So you had a dream of this place in Myrtle Beach. Now, that didn't come without a little bit of angst involved in not only the property location, because I think the last time you were on, you were talking about locating that property and how that came about. But that was a huge step, like the resveratrol thing, in the moments and the movement of the winery. So let's talk about that and Myrtle Beach. And I want to encourage folks to go down your list. Either one of you wants to take that.
Like how we got started there?
Yeah. How did you were thinking about going to Myrtle Beach, and then all of a sudden this idea came together.
You talk about how we started.
Well, It has been in our heads for many years. After my grandmother passed away around 97, it didn't take long before my grandfather decided he couldn't live without a lady. And so him being at his age, he would get me to drive to North Myrtle Beach and Myrtle Beach, and we would pretend that we were looking for a spot for a winery. And we would always bypass by the beach so he could go out there and take a look at the ocean.
That's right. Enjoy the view.
The ocean.
And enjoy
yeah,
the view.
that's right. So, what we really looked at is what do we do best? And we really think that we hug necks better than any other winery. And what we do in Rose Hill is we greet those people when they walk in the door with a smile and ask them where they come from and share our story and our wines with them. And then we also look at that and say, we need to try to expand that. And the best place we can do it, the world's largest frying pan is not bringing as many people to us as a beach will. So we expanded and decided to move into North Myrtle Beach.
Now, the property is pretty expensive. That's kind of a ritzy area at North Myrtle
it
Beach.
was
Am I
biggest
overshooting
check I've
that a
ever
little bit
read.
or what?
Oh yes, it's a lot of money down there. Actually, that property was owned by 11 different families.
Wow.
And so what was, Dave can tell you, it's really cool to be able to purchase it from a family that really wanted to know about us before they even sold it.
So it was not just a real estate transfer.
got
It
in-
was a moment in history.
We got in a little battle about trying to buy it with big restaurant chain, and the owners really contacted me and said, listen, we want to know what Duplin's all about because we want our family's land to mean something good for somebody else.
To a strong family business.
And so we sent them a couple of articles in the local magazine, our state magazine, and they came back and said, it's yours. Of course, they didn't give us a discount.
Right. You still had to pay the price.
Yeah, and I was out there digging. I said, there's got to be some diamonds or something up
Listen,
underneath this thing.
and the thing is, this property, when you look at the size of it, it's pretty huge. You're talking about a 15,000 square foot facility. I mean, you can seat about 200 plus guests, right?
Yes, sir. What our goal was when we were building it is trying, we've been in this business, this is our 40th year.
Yeah.
And over 40 years, you learn from mistakes and you learn from, hey, if I was doing this over again, this is what I would change. And so when we built at the North Myrtle Beach location, we say, let's create certain dynamics of it that we can give the very best customer experience where it's very organized. You get so much. Myrtle Beach got 18 million people to come see it last year. Well, 17.96 million, so I just rounded up to 18 million.
He said million, right?
Yeah, million.
Yeah, now that's Myrtle Beach.
That's
yeah.
it.
Wow,
And the area.
that's a lot of
So
people.
what we're trying to do is try to, knowing that you're going to have the massive amount of people come through, is to give the very best experience by rotating folks in and allow them to have a, good southern time with us and what we say, try the best sweet wine in the world. But JW, it has been an amazing experience for us. It has to be, like resveratrol you talked about
absolutely.
coming out. This was another milestone for us. It was one time that we've done something that you're scared, you don't know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, let's knock on some wood.
Yeah, because it's, we're still 13 months into it, and so but it has been amazing. I gotta tell you a funny story though. Talking about my grandfather, he would have loved to be here, to see it.
Something tells me a little bit of him still here. You know what I'm saying? I don't-
Yeah, so I was given the tasting.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I was given the tasting this summer, and
got a muzzle for
that's
the
right.
summer.
On one side of the bar, we're in a U-shaped bar. On one side of the bar, there's the 14 girls that all came off the beach that had to be in their 20s. And on the other side of the bar, there was 2 older men that had to be in the 70s. They looked like they just got off golf course. With the girls on this side, long story short, just all in cover-ups, and one girl who was, I don't know a nice way to say it, but very well endowed, she had nothing under her cover-up.
Healthy.
She was very healthy. And so anyway, I'm pouring the wine and I get into her and I notice, so I'm trying not to look, and so when I pour her more than her friend that's right beside her. Well, I could hear it was upsetting her friend, so got to the 4th wine, and the girl that was her friend right beside her just took her shirt and just ripped it wide open. And I looked and I said, oh my. And she goes, now, I want you to look as hard as you can, and I want you to pour me the exact same amount that she got. The old man on the other side, before I could say anything, threw down his wallet and said, son, I don't care how much it costs, just keep pouring it for her.
Now, that's a good example of the history growing fast right there.
That's right. But we get so many people from Pennsylvania to Florida, to everywhere that come see us, Ohio, that come see us and they sample our wines for the very first time. And you know, our goal is, our hopes is that they will come back and buy it in the grocery stores a little later on. So we just get so many more folks, the opportunity to tell our story to so many more folks there than we do in Rose Hill. And it's helped us out here in Rose Hill too, because those folks stop back by Rose Hill and actually see us because they want to see the entire operation here.
So there's almost a traffic pattern. I mean, because you got Myrtle Beach, which straight link right up to Wilmington, straight link 40 right back to Raleigh, and you got Rose Hill right there. So do you see, as you were just talking about, people from one place to the other frequently? Does a lot of people come to Rose Hill and says, well, I was down at Myrtle Beach the other day, that kind of thing?
We have a lot of folks that they've gone to the winery in Myrtle Beach several times, and they say, you know, we just want to come up here and see it, or vice versa, they're traveling back and they're stopping in. And we use that to be able to try to promote the county too, because we'll say, hey, you need to come by and see the winery, see the world's largest frying pan, and also, you know, see the other attractions.
Well, really, Duplin Winery put Rose Hill on the map. I mean, obviously, there's no question about that. And for the most part, and may or may not be some disagreement, put Duplin County somewhat on the map. And then when you start looking at the numbers, really put Eastern North Carolina on a larger map when you look at the South being the largest winery in the South.
Well, we've been very blessed and very lucky, and we have so many folks that take time out of their day to come see us, and we're just lucky to have them to come either to the winery or come eat at our restaurant or come one of our dinner shows.
When you look at the Myrtle Beach enterprise, that venture itself, what was the biggest disagreement you guys had? Being honest.
Who's gonna live there?
Yeah.
We flipped a coin. We don't know if he won or lost.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we tried to put 10 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound bag. And so there was a lot of things that we really were not fully prepared for until now. We're still working on some issues that we've had problems, you know, in the past. But the whole goal for that is, like Jonathan said, we get a lot of folks from Ohio coming down and visit. Our wines are for sale in Ohio. And so that is our biggest marketing tool, is having them come to the winery, tasting our wines, learning our story, and then going back to Columbia or Columbus and different places like that and buying our wines. I think we've argued a lot about some expenses. I don't know. He's got to open
glasses too full. That's I mean, I can already see the problem there. You know what I'm saying? We got to chain him down.
I'm a little bit more spendthrifty. He likes to be conservative.
But you know, one of the best things that happened though with opening our North Myrtle Beach area is we hired a great team of folks, and they moved to Rose Hill, and they lived in Rose Hill until we opened, and we had some issues where we couldn't get open with some permits and different things like that. So we had an extended amount of time of people learning who we are, and then they became more like family. And now they're down in
then you had people like Morgan Jackson that went with you down there,
and
she really was dialed into both. Yeah. So she knew what your philosophy and had already bought into that. So she was.
She runs the show. She's the boss.
Absolutely. And you're good with that.
No, I'm good with it.
As long as cha-ching's working, we're fine.
That's right.
So I think what I'm hearing you guys say is, not only has this been an adventure, but if you compare it to the 96, 95 resveratrol event, it's been another huge step pushing Duplin Winery forward, not only to just North Carolina and South Carolina, but again, the South as a whole.
Well, I'm going to brag on Jonathan, because really he is the one supposed to be looking after it, along with Morgan and some people a lot smarter than him or I down there. But we were voted the second biggest tourist attraction on the Grand Strand area, just below Carolina Opry, I believe it was.
But if
So
they
that was
had
pretty
called
cool.
some of us, we could have told them that going in, you know. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We're talking with Jonathan and David Fussell, Duplin Wineries, largest in the South, the biggest winery on the Eastern Coast. Stay with us. We'll be back in one moment.
Whether it's video, voice, internet, or cellular, Star Communications connects you to the things you love. It's what we do and have done for over 50 years. Star Communications, your local technology company.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I want to thank you for being with us today. We Should Know is on the air. I want to thank all those folks at the radio station that mentions us each and every week. We're talking about the morning show with Nolan Z, the L Man, and of course Grandpa. We're also talking about Wayne Weeks with the Southern Gospel Music Hour each and every day. We thank Nicole for what she does in introducing this show and the Country Store at the radio station. Tommy to fly in his show in the afternoon keeps everybody buzzing up there. And Tommy, we appreciate you mentioning. Of course, I don't put last. I always try to mix Robert Stroud in because on Saturday afternoon, Boogie Shoes Radio Network brings music to all over the eastern part of the United States. You can pick that radio station up now as a lot of folks are doing anywhere in North Carolina, and Robert Stroud does a great job with that. Robert, we appreciate you mentioning our show and our guests. We're talking with Jonathan and David Fussell. I want to mention very quickly, Jonathan, you kind of like Luke Skywalker, and Dave, you are a fan of Tom Clancy. I'm trying to get that in my head. How does that come together? That command authority, and then we got Luke Skywalker. I think we probably might need a glass of wine before we get through with this. How does that dial in?
I didn't even know this.
I'm just bringing it out, folks. Just bringing it out.
No, I mean, Luke Skywalker was always my favorite character. My favorite movie of all time is Star Wars. And well, it's been cool about it, especially recently with these new Star Wars movies coming out and having a child that's in it too, and to be able to go actually experience that with him, and you know, that is really cool. But I always loved him. I mean, he was my favorite character of all time.
So I see a lot of visionary stuff here now with Tom Clancy. Now we can talk about some of his books, but I know you're a big fan.
I'm not as analytical as Tom Clancy was. Unfortunately, we no longer have him to write books.
That's true. That was a great author.
I did love all of his books and read every one, and you know, it's I guess maybe I should have been in the CIA or something like that.
Well, you could be missing your calling.
Well, I think you may be knowing all this personal information.
I'm just saying you might need to be in the CIA. You might be in it and not know it.
That's right.
You already be there.
Good cover there.
So when you think about where you are and the fact that, I mean, I just, you know, I've been around you guys several years now, so I've started learning you a little bit, and I do quite a bit of reading, as you do, Dave, on some of these things. So when I look at it, I know you're not the people to be satisfied with just status quo. So now, quickly, just sensing around you, I feel like Myrtle Beach, you've conquered that. I mean, it's there. There's still a lot of stuff going on.
Not yet.
Yeah, you're still riding that horse, but you're still looking over the fence somewhere. Is there something else? Because when you say the largest winery, when you're looking at 1.7 plus million gallons of wine, you know, any way you look at it, and you know, your good friend Mr. Phillips down there in Mississippi and others is glad to keep pushing grapes forward, but at some point in time, a lot of other things is going on. You got to have more grapes. You got to have more capacity. And the demand, from what I can hear and read, continues to grow for this sweet, cool, and easy kind of mentality. So where are we going? What's next?
Well, I'd just like to say, I mean, you know, anytime you're dealing with anybody, you know, especially when we're very fortunate enough to work with 160-something folks, and you always got to be looking for the next thing, and trying to do the next thing in order to keep that interest there, and keep them wanting to, you know, to grow, and because everybody wants to make more money, and so as long as we can find new ways and innovate, you know, ways to be able to keep them inspired and happy and excited about being there. So we, you know, Myrtle Beach has been so far a great adventure for us, and we have looked at, what's the possibilities of doing something else. And so, but I think we're still a ways off on that.
Dave, you mentioned something off air. We were talking a while ago about the importance of technology now, and everything from Facebook to Twitter and all of these other kinds of communication capabilities. Some wine companies are looking at containers and how they market their product in different size containers and those kinds of things. When you look at that, I hear and sense that one of your challenges is how do we present that and still maintain that core philosophy of the Duplin wine family?
Right.
That is that the big challenge of how do we keep that solid?
Well, we'd like to, continue operating as a family-owned business, and our associates who buy in and take ownership with our company, they become family. Mm-hmm. And we struggle with looking at all the new different packaging and different things like that, and be able to do something in a different line would require up tooling with machinery, and also you've got to buy things by the tractor trailer load now, and so we've done a lot of research. I'm not saying that we won't do something soon, but right now we're very fortunate to be selling what we're making, and we have to grow all of our grapes. We're not like a lot of these California wineries where they can go to Argentina or Australia and buy grapes or buy
a shipload or what have you.
Right. If Muscadine grapes only grow here, and we have to grow these here. And the biggest thing the most difficult thing that we do is trying to project now what we're going to do 4 years from now, because we had to have the grapevines in the ground fully matured, which takes 4 years before we can sell it. So we need to know, and our projections run out. We're not all that good. We've been pretty good at, luckily getting the grapes that we need, but we are expanding in grape growing in the state of South Carolina, and we got a new grower now in just outside of Greenville that may be kicking on next year. So we are growing with some grapes.
One of the things that hits me, and when I'm hearing you talk, I'm hearing a lot of business strategy coming forward, and with Jonathan, I'm hearing a strong tie and understanding some of the historical components and some sense of imagination there. When I think about that, is the challenge with the growers and having the vineyards to supply the grapes, because it's clear that you've already got this thing on the sales end and the marketing. Folks are buying strong. I mean, not we don't want them to buy more, but they are buying strong in that field. So what is there a way to incentivize that grower? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I've had people ask me, hey, those guys at Duplin Winery, how do you get set up to do a vineyard and all that kind of thing? Of course, I always send them to Ag Extension. I say, go to talk to Eileen Coit. She'll work out something with you to explain it to you. But those are the kinds of things that I think is interesting. Is how do you do that? Because the market template has been done when you look at livestock and poultry industry. I mean, they templated the market, in my opinion. They done a major job. So that template's there. So how do you look at somebody and say, well, you got 100 acres of land. Have you ever thought about growing grapes? Is it first suitable for that? And you follow where I'm going with this?
Well, the ground, definitely the dirt.
Yeah.
Is the best tobacco land is the best grape growing land.
Absolutely.
We really are sort of behind on the 8 ball because we don't know exactly what the market will be 4 years from now. We can try our very best to put numbers together, but our number one responsibility is when we sign a contract with a grower, that grower is going to be paid for 10 years, the life of the contract. And so it puts some pressures on us to make sure, hey, we've got these new growers coming online. We've got to build the business up to meet those demands so that we can, use up that supply. We still got a long ways to go, though, and we're not satisfied with ourselves by no means.
What the Star Wars expert here does, I'm thinking he's thinking about exporting stuff already. I'm seeing the twinkle over here in his eye going, how do we get this really going here?
I would like to, sort of mention, sort of what you were talking about at the very beginning when the off-air comments. Our roles too have changed in the company, and it's the marketing aspect of of everything on social media and you know, doing shows like this right here, which we're honored, and thank you so very much for having us.
We're excited that you're here.
But that has taken so many more demands on us to do that it's really the other folks that are running the company. And so we're just sort of, you know, trying to learn the best we can, because the ever-changing Facebook and, you know, social media platforms and all that, and what's new and hot today is not going to be new and hot 6 weeks from now. And so we're constantly trying to stay on that edge, and which requires a lot more time of us doing things that, you know, don't really, you know, that our wives probably think are not very important at all. To be honest with you.
It's like you're having fun.
I know, that's right. Yeah, but it does take a lot more time.
And those are the kinds of things from specifically from that business background and academia that you've got, as well as what you've done, David. Did you see you got to kind of have some way to articulate it analytically, don't you? I mean, don't you feel like, well, it's these numbers, like you said a while ago, they're not adding up, Jonathan. What's going on down there? You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we think it's more than just licking your finger and seeing which way the wind's blowing. But we've got a team, JW, that just brilliant people and hardworking people, and you know they help us and they give us the information we're looking for. Our sales director and then of course our wives, they let us know. They're kind of like Daddy, what's going wrong, and but
where you at now?
Yeah.
How long you gonna be there?
That's right. They're positive.
Exactly.
Right.
A lot of planning. You know, we're building a new building at our plant in Rose Hill. So we're expanding there with some warehouse space, and we do things that are different than we used to in the past, whereas we try to buy all of our bottles as a make and ship discounted price. So we're trying to bring in, you know, our bottles, and that hopefully is money that we can pass on to our growers later on. And but you know, it's a deal where we are. I don't think there's a winery working harder than we are, but now there's bigger wineries. So you keep saying,
absolutely. I know there's always gonna be something bigger, but they ain't gonna get no better.
Well, I think
no way it's gonna get no better.
You're my hero. JW's my hero.
Some of the best things in the world, sweetest things in the world, are small. So we'll just kind of leave it at that. But I want to go to break, and then I want to come back and I want to talk about something that's coming up that Jonathan, you said a while ago, which is important to understand. This is like a 40th year anniversary, and we're gonna come back from this break and we're gonna stomp it out. We're going to talk about some grape stomping. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us for the last segment. We're going to talk about stomping grapes down in Rose Hill. It's not that far away. Stay with us. We'll be back. One moment.
Give me a home where no burglar can roam, where my kids and their pets safely play. With security by Star, I can check in from afar, hit the lights, lock the door, night or day.
Really? Yeah. I can see my cameras, switch the lights, lock the doors, set the alarm, all from my phone.
Their prices are right, my home's locked up tight, Star Security makes me feel great.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. We're coming up on our last segment here at We Should Know for Tuesday. We appreciate you being with us, and as well, we appreciate our guests today is both Jonathan and David Fussell. The people that are behind the scenes, the visionaries, the experts, the people that can imagine what might happen. And for an example of that, we just got through talking about Myrtle Beach, what happened there, and that facility is rolling, and millions of people going through there each and every day. It's fascinating. But there's something coming up on Saturday, the 10th of September, that is kind of, it's happened before, but Jonathan, you mentioned a while ago on break, this is kind of special because once you hit that 40th year, you know, we're pushing forward to a whole century, just looking, you know, you're getting close to that century mark, and that's huge. So what's going on? We're talking about stomping grapes, and we're talking about exclusive tasting stations, and if folks will go online, DuplinWinery.com,
Right.
it's amazing at some of the pictures. I mean, just makes you want to go down there. You might think you are in Myrtle Beach.
Well, this year is going to be our 40th grape stomp. And after 39 times, we think we've got it down pretty good. But anyway, this year is going to be our biggest one ever. It's going to be held right there at our I-40 location where our amphitheater is right in our vineyards. And so the day's going to start off at 1 o'clock and it's going to end at 9 o'clock. But it's just going to be it's a great day. I mean, it's a fun day, and sort of give you your viewers a little tips on what I recommend you doing. When you get there, I always recommend going out to our vineyards first, where Carlos and Dennis, which is the local enologist in the area, is going to teach you exactly how we grow our grapes. Not only are they going to teach you, we're going to allow you to be out there to pick your own grapes. And some people pick a little bit, not only take home, but to throw in the bucket to stomp a little bit later on. Then we take you over to our production facility, where Jason, our winemaker, is going to teach you exactly how we actually make our wine. And last year, I believe we processed about 10,700 tons of grapes, somewhere around that area amount. So he's going to go through the entire process, and you end up in our bottling room, which we bottle between 6,000 to 7,000 bottles per hour. We will not be bottling that day because it's grape season, but folks can come a little later on and see it. Then come in our first time ever, we're going to do wine tastings in our new chapel that we build out in our vineyards, which is a wedding chapel. We love folks to get married there.
Is that the one that we see when we go by on I-40?
The big green barn's my office.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's out there at that property.
Yeah, this is much nicer. And so not only will you be able to do tasting, we'll be coming out with some new wines that day, and one of them happens to be one of my favorite ones called Frosted Frolic. It's a new Christmas wine that we'll be releasing just at that event, and so folks will be able to sample that, and we'll have live music actually outside of the chapel that folks will be able to see. That's just like a 1 or 2 person band. Over in the main stage area where we'll be stomping grapes, and that's why I always recommend folks doing this when they're stomping. It's always cool seeing a person stomp for the very first time, because you get to see that juice come between their toes and they kind of freak out over about it, and it's just a real cool experience. But we actually, during the grape stomp, Dave and I view everybody stomping. We've been doing this for a long time, so we know who can stomp and who can't stomp. And so
you gotta have the toes for it.
That's right. You gotta have the feet and you gotta have the footwork. But if you're a good stomper, we'll actually give you a ticket and you'll be able to come to our stomp off that we have later on that night. If you're a great stomper, we actually hire you to come work for us a little later on. And then we have bands starting at 1 o'clock, and Chocolate Chip will actually be playing from 1 o'clock to about 4, and then the Holiday Band will be playing from 5 to 9. And so
two big name bands in the area.
Yeah, so they'll actually be performing. We're looking forward to that. So it's going to be a great time. We're only allowing 1,000 people to come to this one.
It'll be another sell-out event.
Yeah, and so we've already sold, I forget how many hundreds of tickets to it, but it's going to be on September 10th, and we love to invite all the viewers to come to it, and it's going to be a great time.
And tickets, $15 a person, advance, and $25 at the gate, if there is any tickets available at the gate. That's what folks oftentimes miss out on, is there might not be tickets available. So you encourage folks to literally go to that website. They can pick it up right on their smartphone, whatever.
And JW, one of the coolest things to me is we have a stomping station where when you stomp grapes, you come out and your feet are purple. So when you step, we have T-shirts that people step on, and their footprints are on there, and that lasts for years on this white T-shirt, and talks about grape stomp and all that on there.
Signature T-shirt.
That's right. It's a great time. Then we got other games too that will be going on. Like guess how many glasses of wine are in this bottle of wine. That all this kind of stuff. Just a cool time. Yeah, count the courts. It's just a great time.
When we look, and just like you said a while ago, you've been doing it for 39 years now. It's 40th year. So you've got it down to a fine art now, managing traffic, shuffling people from wherever they want to go. All they got to do is follow the instructions on the website, or just go to the website and pull up that information, and it's going to be an easy, smooth ride for them, and ultimately they'll get uncorked.
That's right. The theme of the Grape Stomp is drink wine, stomp grapes. That's the theme of it. But when they buy their tickets online, Gina does an amazing job of giving everybody all the information that they need to know for that event. But of course, there's going to be folks there with Duplin Winery T-shirts on that's going to direct and guide everybody where they need to go to.
How many people does it take to orchestrate this event?
For this event, it will take 63 different folks working that are just there to entertain, as far as taking care of the clientele. That's not counting the other folks working as in the production area that will be running
it'll be
it.
grape season, so we'll be pressing grapes.
So that day total, we'll have over 115, 120 folks working.
So you'll get people, because you obviously been marketing this through all those mediums that you talked about. You'll get people to hear about it on this show, but they'll be coming from all over the country, not just Duplin, Sampson, not just 8 or 10 counties surrounding area here, but literally from all over the country.
Most years we have people from Florida to Michigan that come to it, because they buy tickets well in advance and come in, and it is by far the best day to visit the winery, and it is the most fun day that we have, and they know that, and a lot of them have experienced it, so they're telling their families about it, and they make it a family vacation trip.
And that was another point. It is a family event too. So I mean, it's an all day kind of thing. But and I think folks look at it and go, well, where do we go or what do we do? Well, this is a perfect example of a company, family-owned company, that's doing something in the area that everybody knows the name of. Again, largest on the East Coast, largest in the South, and they can not only have a good time, but really experience the total experience of wine making from the vineyard to the bottling process.
And something that is not I know Dave's probably has something to say, but something that is, we take for granted because we live here in, eastern North Carolina, but a lot of people don't, that when they come down, they really look for experiences, grape pole pie.
Yeah,
and so we make it and we release it that day, and it's just, people freak out over it and everything.
Well, and Dave, the thing is, when we look back again over that history and you look at it as the process of business, we look at it as something that is good for you, that has been tested from, pharmaceutical companies and everything else. You sell some of the products still to them for some pharmaceuticals, but at the same time, there's these offshoots of it that's for baking and various other things. If you go to Rose Hill, you see all that kind of stuff, from jams, jellies, it's just amazing. And some of these things are historical things that was done many years ago, before this was back in the 50s and 60s, probably even 40s. It was going on.
That's right. Grape Pole Pie has been around a long time.
Absolutely,
long
absolutely.
Time.
So the reality on that day, you can really come that day, and that can be an uncorked day for you. You can be part of a number of people in the South and throughout the country that is getting uncorked every day with Duplin Winery. So that concept and that movement forward, I only see exploding, expanding. I'm going to give you a few seconds to wrap up, David. Should we give him the last comment? Is that good, giving him the last comment?
I'm Darth Vader.
You go ahead and do yours, and then I'm your father. So let's go with
I'm your
that.
brother.
I'm going to give him a couple of comments. I'm going to give you an opportunity to go ahead and
it's been amazing. I've got gray hair, but I started working as a 6-year-old little dude, and just seeing what's happened and what's changed, and it means a lot to us that we're also able to, put a lot of folks to work, and we have a lot of farmers growing grapes here in Clinton and Sampson County. We do, and we're just tickled to death that you'd let us come and visit with you, and I want to thank everybody for their support too of Duplin Winery. We work hard and we greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So I don't think I can do it any better than what he just said, but thank you so very, very much for having us. And I'd like to invite all your viewers to come to our Grape Stomp and come see our new winery in North Myrtle Beach.
Well, and I think one of the things too is a shout out to all of your folks over there, and we mentioned Morgan Jackson, and you mentioned some of the winery folks, and is Bill Hatcher still there?
Yeah.
Bill Hatcher's still there.
Yeah.
He's the vice president of sales, and I think about people like Brian that drives trucks for you and shows up at all these Live After 5 events. And,
we know where he's getting.
And so you got people everywhere in every part of the country. All of these folks are so dedicated and work so hard. There's something driving them, and it's just not about money.
Well, we used to have a rule that we could not hire anybody's family members anymore, because if somebody cut up, you couldn't let them go. And you just mentioned Brian. Brian's brother works there, and Brian's sister-in-law works there.
And his
nephew. Good gracious.
It's amazing how that gels, and there's probably folks that are in business out there, and maybe even larger business, may be listening, and they're thinking, if we could just kind of get that philosophy together. So maybe we need to have a show one day and talk about the philosophy of Duplin Wine.
Hey, pick on Brian next time you see him. Say, I know the reason why you work there is because you don't want Jonathan's son to date your daughter. Because they're classmates. And she's a pretty girl.
Yeah.
She don't look like Brian nowadays.
I could hear a whole new policy coming.
That's right.
Section 4, line 8 or something.
Right.
You know, cannot date.
That's right.
But it is an interesting journey, and again, when I look at Duplin Winery and we think about what this country is, and when we look at that flag, it's important for folks to know that capitalism does work. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being with us. Folks, thank you for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you again next week on the radio, and we want you to also know, may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.